Dear Waffles, Asato Masad Gamaya from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Lead me from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality.
Classic. It's a good one. You didn't know I went outside, says Wizard Fairy. I love the outdoors. I love the wilderness. Oh, and thank you, Cindy, for sharing your thank you. From Cindy, Canada. I am also in Canada. It is my mother's favorite. Oh, yeah. How interesting is that? Mataji's favorite is also my mother's favorite. I didn't even realize that. That's a good observation. Ingrid, you would like me to send you a kiss? Alright. What's your address? I will put the kiss in a box for you and package it up. Send it to you. It'll find its way to you. SkyGuardian, you recommend reading from the Vachanamrut. Yeah, we can take an interim. I like that. Here we are going to read another passage from the Vachanamrut. This is a set of discourses from the last 10 years of Bhagwan Swaminarayan's life. If you're like me, then you probably don't know who this person was. Well, until me a few months ago. He was a great being in the turn of the 19th century, and is even revered as an avatar, a divine ascension of Narayan, form of the divine. There's often some very terse, otherwise direct, but still fruitful spiritual lessons within these passages. Today we are reading Gadhadā 156, called Hollow Stones. Like geodes. Probably not that kind of hollow stone. We'll see though. On the evening of Vadhi the 12th, Samvat 1876, also known as the 11th of February, 1820, actually, Sriji Maharaj, Swaminarayan, was sitting on a large decorated cot on the veranda, outside the west-facing rooms in front of the mandir, the temple of Sri Vasudev Narayan in Dada Khachar's Darbar in Gadhadā. He was wearing a white case and had covered himself with an orange reto interlaced with golden and silver threads. He had also tied a reto with a deep orange border around his head. At that time, an assembly of munis as well as devotees from various places had gathered before him. After singing the Narayan Dhunya, some munis were singing devotional songs to the accompaniment of jhanj and mrudang. Thereupon, Sriji Maharaj requested, "Please conclude singing devotional songs and let us conduct a question-answer session for a while." Having said this, Sriji Maharaj said, "Here, let me ask a question." He then began by saying, Sri Krishna Bhagwan, whom is very famous form of the divine within Hinduism, mentions 4 types of devotees in the Gita, in the song. Which song? The Bhagavad Gita. A footnote here, the 4 types of devotees described in the Gita from the 7th chapter, verses 16 and 17 are 1. An Arta, one who is distressed from having fallen from the path of attaining yogic powers, and thus still wishes to attain them. 2. Jignasu, one who seeks knowledge of the Atma, the self, in other words, Atma realization, self-realization. 3. Artharti, one who desires material objects, in other words, material pleasures and powers. And 4. Jnani, one who has jnana, knowledge. That is to say, 4 people go to God, 4 different kinds of people. 1 for the attainment of power, spiritual abilities. 2 for the attainment of self-knowledge, to discover who one really is. 3 for materialistic purposes. And 4, one who is already knowledgeable. I'm sure that one we will talk more about. Of these, a devotee already possessing jnana, knowledge, is described as being the best. However, supposing that all 4 have an equal level of faith in God's form, how is the one with jnana superior? It's very interesting. You wouldn't think of someone who is already self-realized, having true knowledge, as even needing to go to God anymore, because they have merged their intellect. The Munis attempted to answer the question, but were unable to do so satisfactorily. Sriji Maharaj then explained, the devotee possessing jnana behaves as Brahma Svarup, as the form of God, and thoroughly realizes the potency, the potential of God within all things. As a result, no desires remain in their mind except for those of God's form. The other 3 types of devotees, however, do not fully realize the glory of God despite having faith in God. Thus, desires other than those for God still persist. That is why they do not come to par with the devotee possessing jnana, knowledge. Therefore, if any desires other than those related to God remain in a devotee, it is a serious flaw. Another major flaw is when a person who has no worldly desires at all, and has intense vairagya, dispassion towards the world, they know it's just a place of suffering, behaves arrogantly on behalf of that vairagya. That is to say, they've come to knowledge that the world is not the happy place that they think it is, but they become arrogant in that knowledge and then try to make it a mess for everyone else. If I can't be happy here, then no one can be. That kind of dispassion is a major flaw he is discussing. They may have the intense force of knowledge of the Atma, the true self, being beyond the world, or have force of resolute bhakti, devotion, loving devotion towards God. But if, out of arrogance, they are unable to bow before even meek devotees, or is unable to address them humbly, then that is also a serious flaw in them. As a result of that flaw, their inclination does not flourish. So, even someone who has great knowledge of the self, great devotion for God, if they are not behaving in a humble way, well, that's something that they can still work on. They still have much room to improve. Consider the analogy of a stone cutter digging a well. If the stone underneath sounds hollow when he strikes it, he predicts there will be plenty of water in this well. But if the stone sounds solid on the surface, and sparks fly when he strikes it, then the stone cutter infers, if there is going to be any water in this well at all, there will be very little. In the same way, a person who remains arrogant due to the vanity of their jnana, knowledge, vairagya, worldly dispassion, and bhakti, devotion, may be called great, but their greatness will be very limited. They do not imbibe the great virtues imbibed by a humble devotee. Therefore, whoever wishes to please the divine should not become arrogant due to the vanity of their Gyan, Vairagya and Bhakti, knowledge, worldly dispassion and devotion, or in fact due to any other noble virtue they may have. As a result, the incarnate form of Sri Krishna Narayan will become pleased and will reside in the heart of that very person. Muktanand Swami then asked, Maharaj, by what method can a person overcome vanity which arises due to knowledge, worldly dispassion, and loving devotion, Gyan, Vairagya, Bhakti, and other noble virtues? Sriji Maharaj replied, if, while realizing the glory of God's devotees, they physically bow down to them, serves them menially, recognizes thoughts of vanity when they arise in their heart, and maintain the force of thought, then vanity is eradicated. Sriji Maharaj then continued, a devotee's profound, loving bhakti may be so intense that due to that bhakti, God does as that devotee wishes. This is a very interesting philosophical idea that I'll just take a moment to reflect on. In the bhakti traditions of the Indian subcontinent, it is said that although we are the servants of God, God is the servant of our love. So we can, in this tradition, enslave God through our own love. So that is the context of that sentence. However, if that devotee develops vanity in their heart due to that bhakti, it constitutes a serious flaw on their part. Also, a devotee may be vain due to their knowledge of the Atma, the true self, or due to their Vairagya, worldly dispassion, but that vanity only serves to strengthen their belief of being the body. Therefore, divine or devotees of divinity should not harbor any form of vanity whatsoever. That is the only means to please God. Furthermore, if introspective devotees of God examine themselves and look inwards towards their own hearts, when even a little vanity arises, they would notice an expression of disgust on the form of God residing in their heart. That's funny. Conversely, when they behave humbly, God's form residing within their hearts would appear to have an extremely pleased expression. Therefore, using the force of thought, a devotee should not allow any sort of vanity to arise. If, however, vanity does coexist with Gyan, Vairagya, and Bhakti, it is rather like impurities added to gold. If impurities are added to 24-karat gold, it becomes 22-karat. Adding more impurities renders it 18-karat. Adding even more impurities renders it 12-karat. In the same way, as impurities in the form of vanity mix with that devotee's Gyan, Vairagya, and Bhakti, the purity of all three gradually decrease. Thus, Gyan, Vairagya, and Bhakti, devoid of vanity, are like 24-karat gold. Furthermore, if a person is vain, those virtues of Gyan, Vairagya, and Bhakti may make them appear virtuous superficially, but they do not have any inner strength. Consider another analogy. This Prithvi, this earth, with a surface area of 500 million yojans, supports the oceans, the mountains, and all forms of life, and so appears very strong. However, because a Prithvi floats on Jal, ocean, like dung cake, Jal, water, appears to be much stronger than Prithvi, earth. Likewise, Tej, fire, appears to be much stronger than Jal, water, and Vayu, air, appears to be even stronger than Tej, fire. Finally, Although it appears to have no strength at all, Akash, space, in fact, is the strongest of them all, since it supports all the other four. Similarly, the virtues of Gyan, Vairagya, and Bhakti, knowledge, dispassion, and devotion of a devotee who has no vanity, are as powerful as Akash. Although they may not outwardly appear to be so, such a humble devotee is superior to all. This is a longer passage today, I recognize, but that's okay. Moreover, just as an infant never has any feelings of vanity, in the same manner, no matter how much praise or esteem they encounter, a sadhu, a monk, should always behave without vanity, just like an infant. Thereafter, Muktanand Swami asked another question. The jiva, the individual soul, is distinct from the indriyas, the sense organs, antakaran, the whole mind, and prans, the vital energies of the body. It is also distinct from the three states, waking, dream, and deep sleep, and the three bodies, sthul, sukshma, and karan. After hearing this in satsang, an assembly of truth, a firm conviction regarding this fact has been cultivated. Why then does this blissful jivatma, individual soul, still associate with the indriyas, antakaran, etc., with the body, mind, and all its components, while engaged in the worship and remembrance of Paramatma, the higher self, and thereby become miserable due to the influence of disturbing thoughts? Sriji Maharaj replied, many people become realized yogis, many become omniscient, many become devas, deities, and thus attain countless types of greatness, including the highest state of enlightenment. All this is achieved through the force of upasana, a kind of worship of God. Without upasana, though, nothing can be accomplished. Therefore, the distinction between Atma and non-Atma, self and non-self, cannot be realized by merely understanding the distinction as given in the scriptures, nor can it be realized by listening to discourses from a senior sadhu and deciding in one's mind, I shall now distinguish between Atma and non-Atma, self and non-self. Rather, it is the extent of a person's faith in their Ishtadev, their personal form of the divine that speaks to their heart, that determines how much distinction between Atma and non-Atma they cultivate. In fact, without using the strength of their Ishtadev, no spiritual endeavors can be fulfilled. Final few pages here, and they're small pages, trust me. On the other hand, a person who has profound, loving bhakti for God, like the gopis who were the milk maidens of Sri Krishna when he was just a little boy. What was the sentence? Like the gopis, have completed all spiritual endeavors. If, however, a person does not have such love, then they should understand the glory of God in the following way. God is the master of Golok, Vaikunt, Shvetdvip, and Brahmahol. These are various planes of existence, abodes of the divine. Although they appear to be like a human for the purpose of granting happiness to their devotees by descending to earth in various cultures across time, for the purpose of granting happiness to his devotees, his form in his abodes of Golok, Vaikunt, etc., radiates with the brilliance of millions and millions of suns from each pore of his body. Yet, in Mrityulok, humans serve him, and he becomes visible only when a small oil lamp is lit in front of him. Nonetheless, it is he who provides light to all, the sun, the moon, etc. That God is such that Radhika, who is the Divine Feminine here, on the right of Sri Krishna. Lakshmi, the equivalent counterpart to Narayan. And his other devotees constantly serve him in his abodes of Golok, Vaikuntha, etc. Following the dissolution of the Brahmans, of the universes, it is only this incarnate God who remains. Also, it is this same God at the time of creation who creates countless millions of Brahmans, universes, through Prakriti, nature, and Purush, the cosmic person. Contemplating on God's glory in this manner is the only method for understanding the distinction between Atma, the true self, and non-Atma, what is not the self. In addition, the extent of that devotee's faith in God, coupled with knowledge of God's glory, also determines the amount of vairagya, worldly dispassion, that develops in that devotee's heart. Therefore, forsaking one's dependence on the strength of other spiritual endeavors, one should rely exclusively on the strength of God's upasana, a kind of faith. Such a devotee believes, however grave a sinner a person may be, if at the end of their life they utter Swaminarayan in this tradition, they will be redeemed of all sins, and will reside in Brahma Mahol. How then can there be any doubt about a devotee who has taken refuge in that God attaining the abode of God? Therefore, a devotee of God should increase the strength of their upasana, faith of God, day by day, by practicing satsang, association with truth. That was a longer one, wasn't it? But I said it can be very direct. Lots of commentary here. So thank you for your lovely patience, everyone. I know that this tradition might be very much of a culture shock, but I'm so happy to explore various traditions and cultures here. I believe that truth is one and it's expressed in many ways. And I love how many ways that one truth gets expressed in all the world's religions, and even all the perspectives that arise in other areas of life besides religion, like science, art, even humanitarianism. It's all wonderful expressions of this universe, and I'm grateful to be a part of it with you all. I don't know if you can hear the wind chimes behind me. They're wonderful. All right, now we can reopen ourselves up to the whole Sangha.